Welcome, everyone, to the Beacon of Light podcast. And tonight's podcast is being supported and held from our conference called the Pinpoints of Light Childhood and Sexual Abuse Awareness and Healing Conference. This conference has gone for, oh my gosh, this is number 4. This is our fourth. She's our fourth speaker in line here. We have three more to follow. So this is an exciting time. We're right in the heat of it, right in the middle of it. And it looks like we've got people popping on, and I'm just chattering around here. So before we really dive in and get things started, please share, everybody, where you're from. I'm down here in Kyle, Texas, and Dr. Mary Welsh is with us tonight. So Mary, where are you from tonight? Well, we're getting all this business taken care of.
Absolutely. I'm from Warren, Michigan, just outside of Detroit.
Yes,
they
just
say
outside
it's supposed to snow tomorrow. I don't want it snowing.
Well, where I grew up, if it snowed in the spring, the Native Americans called it a dewina. So maybe tomorrow you'll have a dewina. We'll see. You just
Learn
never know.
New every day.
New every day. Well, just also to learn something new, I wanted to make a big shout out for our sponsors that have helped us out through this entire amazing month of conference. And our first one is called the House of Redeeming Love. Thank you very much for this awesome sponsorship. Also, NCAN, and you can contact Kathy Studer if you have any questions about NCAN. They want to end the childhood abuse. And finally, our third big sponsor has to do with our guest tonight. So I'm going to let her take the reins on this one.
Yeah. So first off, I'd like to thank all of the speakers because my nonprofit, Susie Q's Kids, which we'll talk about a little bit later, we create comfort bags. There we go. I'm not Dana White, by the way. But we give bags to children that are in shelters and foster care and hospitals and those that have lost a loved one. And so it's our way to brighten and inspire the life of a child. So thank you for allowing me to sponsor.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Looks like we got Dusty here saying, thanks for speaking, Dr. Mary. Awesome. So those are a bit about our sponsor. We also have authors that have sponsored this conference because all of the speakers for this conference are also authors. So I knew it was important to get authors involved because the concept of story, which we're going to hear about tonight, is really important in our lives and how we, like Dr. Mary says, we weave it forward. And you guys are going to learn all about that real soon. But I want to give you guys a heads up as well as who has won all the books this evening. Our first book and winner, this book is called Petunia and Herman the Worm. Petunia and Herman the Worm. And our author, his name is Sam Baker. And Sam Baker wrote this book. And our winner for tonight, for this awesome, cute, it's a darling book. The winner for tonight is Jean Dart. So Jean, congratulations out there. If you're here, pop on in and say hello. You are the winner of this book this evening. Our next author sponsor is Miss Sandra Douglas, and she is amazing. This is her book called Waiting for Luigi. And the winner of this book tonight is Crystal Waltman. So congratulations, Crystal, for winning Sandra's book. Well, we're not done. We have another beautiful book here, Discover Your Joy by Louise Pistol. And this just launched on Saturday and is a #1 bestseller. Way to go, Louise. So the winner of Louise's book tonight is Nicole Millis. Nicole Millis, you are the winner of Discover Your Joy. And finally, because we have Dr. Mary as our speaker, well, let's show it off to the world. I'm not very good at my fan either. We have, for the children who might be in some, challenging circumstances and grief, here are ways to help speak about healing and grief with the kids. And I think it's really important that the kids have an opportunity and a perspective to know how to share. And she's probably going to touch on some of this tonight, so I won't go too deep. Also, she has, for us adults, We got lots of challenges, adults. Check out the thickness of this book. But really, Dr. Mary, this is something where you don't have to read page by page. It's literally just these little bits and pieces that can help you along the way. So don't feel overwhelmed. It's really, really amazing that will help you in your grief journey. And the winner of this set is Bill Foles. Bill Foles. Congratulations on all of that. And thank you so much, authors. Thank you, Louise. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, Sam. And of course, thank you, Dr. Mary. We are so grateful that everybody has been here helping, putting these things together. Look, Dusty, he's saying, love the coloring books, virtual hug. I think I see a Welsh something in here as well. This is great. Excellent. I love the support. Fantastic, fantastic. So with Dr. Mary Welsh, and now that we've given away all of our sponsorship, I do want to let you know that this week is a big week. It's a big week. So following Dr. Mary, tomorrow night, Tuesday night, we'll be off because Wednesday night we hit it again with Cecilia Tement, and again on Thursday night with Lori Jean Jones. Woo! Hands cramping. All right, that's enough signing for tonight. Okay, so please join us. Show up live at this 7:30 time frame, and we're excited. Thank you so much for popping in, letting us know where you're from. I see lots of good people here, and so let's go ahead and jump in and get some things started. Dr. Mary, I'm going to share with a few people right now while I'm thinking about it. I better turn down my phone and push this share button. I'm getting it out there. We want to have more people loud and proud out here. So while we're doing this, can you share with us a little bit about Susie Q's and how you collect the funds and kind of what you do? Well, I'm doing this background stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my journey started about 3.5 years ago. My daughter, Susie, she passed away. She was 31 years old, and she understood the value of a teddy bear. Oh, can you just imagine? Just a teddy bear. And she understood the value of a blanket. She had her favorite blanket, which Mama has now. And she loved to color. And so she spent a lot of time in the hospital, and she would spend months at a time in the hospital. And so she understood the value of those items. And after she passed, in order to honor her and for the family to heal in a positive way, created the nonprofit Susie Q's Kids. And the coloring book that April showed you, this coloring book actually goes into all of our bags. And the grief book, if it's a grief bag that we give out, then the children will also get this grief book to help them heal. But we give the bags to children, like I said, in shelters. So the speaker fees that came from this conference, all of them are going to support Susie Q's Kids. So we'll be putting these bags into the hands of kids that are in a shelter right now. There we go, over there. So that we can brighten and inspire their day.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I think when a mission really stretches out beyond your life, isn't that the legacy that we feel? I mean, there's something to that, because as we pass this story on, and now we have something that tangible we can actually give forward, and then someone who, we may actually never meet, but they get the influence and the touch of someone. It truly is that angel-like touch. So, Dr. Mary, thank you so much for being willing to work through the challenging pain that it is in the loss of a life of a daughter, of a child, of anyone, and use that energy you could have poured into just gallons of grief into, moving something forward, because it really emulates who she is. And I just thank you, because it's a great, I think it's a great example for so many of us to follow. Doesn't mean you have to do everything the same, but wow, it just shows that you have gifts out there that really can help someone else, and we don't have to just stay so focused right here, because when we're focused here, we don't see anyone out there. So when we lift up, all of a sudden we're like, wow, all these people we could really help. And that's a beautiful thing. We've got more people popping in here live, and this is fantastic. Okay, so Dr. Mary, let's jump in on this and share with us how we're going to be working through some healing here.
Yeah. So when I lost my daughter, there was a big void. There was a big void. There still is a void, but the chasm has decreased a little bit as I've grown with my grief. And so really it took me going through therapy. I always say therapy is your friend, um, because it helps you to challenge those negative thoughts that you might have, those that to take you. I always call them the rabbit hole of despair. That can help you to realign your thinking a little bit. And as I was going through my therapy, my therapist, she's a wonder. I still see her to this day. um, but she told me I had a different outlook, and she said I should write my story. And we all have a story. Every one of us has a story. And so what we can do with that story is help others. And so when I was going through my grief, in writing my thoughts, I realized that there was four things that I really focused on, and I focused on them from a young age. From a young age. I lost my dad when I was 12. And so there were lots of ups and downs throughout life and a lot of different challenges, a divorce, all those good things. You know, everybody has a story. And so being able to look at life with that cup half full versus half empty can give you a different outlook. And so with how to say it. So going back and looking at what happened, why it didn't happen, we have to challenge ourselves. And it's really our thoughts, it's our thinking, because we can't change what really happened. It's already happened. And so how can we change the perspective? When you're going through grief, one of the hardest things is, what if? What if? If I had done this, would life have changed? If I had said this, would I feel better now? If I had said this, would everybody have known? Would it have made a difference? Does it really make a difference? So in my book, I write, what if is what if, but I did. And so my statements became, what if, but I did. And by doing that, I changed how I looked at that angst about not being able to say one more time that I loved her to her face, or, arguing with a doctor, So when I looked at my thought, I said, what if, but I did. I fired doctors. I told her I loved her every single day. Every action that I had, she knew I loved her. So my story became, what if, but I did, and she loved me, and I loved her. And so in the book, I have like 20 different ones I put in there as examples. What if? What if I had told her I loved her? I did. Oh my goodness. How many times do you tell her you loved her? If I had that chance to say it one more time, it didn't matter. I'd want one more. One more and one more and one more. So what can you do to change that perspective? Maybe you got a teddy bear and you hug it close, and maybe you got a best friend that she has, and you call her up and you share a story, you share a memory. you're still connected. And so that's the key, is you're still connected. And so I talk about the four aspects of positive reflection. But April, I'm going to ask you a question.
She's going to ask me a question. Okay, but are we ready?
Absolutely. Are you ready? So everybody has a story. And so in your background, in your story, what's a what if that just bothers you? And how can we change the perspective?
Wow. There are a lot, right? As that list goes down. There are a few that I ask my questions about is, what if I would have asked him more questions versus just assuming something? What if I followed my gut more as opposed to worrying about, control? What if I encouraged differently than how I did? Could the outcome been different? Would he have gone to the doctor and actually sought help and not the drug help? Anything is possible. But like Dusty said up here, he said the what ifs will drive you crazy, because it's like trying to grasp smoke. It's over. There's nothing left there but a feint of a memory that you wish you could change. Well, that's there. So sometimes we have to say, like you said, but what did I do? What did I do? We did support. We grabbed the kids and loved. We tried to build a place of safety. And so you do have to say, okay, we did these parts. And each day that I look at my kids, I can see they share some of the positive things from my first husband. It's with them. And that's nice to remember, that even if, these challenging troubles have happened, sometimes some things can still go forward. And it's a beautiful piece with time, how you can see things with perspective. So yeah.
So I'll have people say, oh, don't you wish you didn't marry your first husband? No, I have 3 beautiful children from that marriage. I learned from that marriage what was good and what was not so good. I learned what was important and maybe what wasn't so important. I learned I'm different today than I was then. So when I remarried, Dusty's on the line, her dad, I got 3 new girls. So I have 6 beautiful children. I've had 15 years of marriage with my husband Joe, and life is good. Even though there's tragedy, even though there's sorrow, even though there's all these different stories, everybody's got them. What if? But I did, and I love it. I love life. I don't have to wallow in what was in the past. I can look inside and I can heal. And I can share that with other people.
It's a beautiful thing when we share the stories and the growth that we've learned, because it might be an answer to someone's questions and questions and questions, right? I think we've heard in this conference so many times that when we start to share the story, people connect, and that me too goes beyond just a hashtag, right? It becomes a connecting piece where then more questions are asked. So someone, I've never lost a child. I have lost grandparents, and I've lost a mother-in-law and a father-in-law. And we understand that loss and death are a part of life. You don't get out without going through that door. It's just the timing and the situation. And was it with illness? Was it suddenly? Was it this long haul? Did they lose their minds? Did they get lost to cancer, an infection? Were they lost to an addiction? All of those things, whatever door happens when we pass through, if we can recognize the perspective of what have we learned and gained from this, and find those positive pieces within it, we then start to really take that what if into but I did. And I think that is a beautiful, beautiful way to encompass this. And so many people here are putting down their comments. Sandra says, recognizing the good as well as the bad gives us a complete picture. Isn't that the truth? If you think about how something is woven on a tapestry, you're going to have dark, strong strands interwoven with light strands to be able to see the contrast and the depth of a piece. Without it, if it was just one, well, frankly, it'd be boring. We wouldn't really get much where. We wouldn't be stronger and tougher because of it. There's so many perspectives on life that helps us. It is that critical piece, like Kathy is saying, in healing and enjoying life. So, Mary, when I look at you, I don't see someone who has lost a daughter but has gained the world. And I'm sure there are days where you'd rather have your daughter, but wow, I just think through this experience, how many other people have you met?
So I talk about my daughter every day. I tell people, say their name, say it loud, say it proud. She had a thirst for life and a very good perspective. She's dancing in the heavens today with my mom, who passed away last year. And I'm sure that they met each other at the pearly gates, and they were singing and dancing. I'm walking on sunshine. Oh, yeah. I'm walking on sunshine. Because that's what it's about. You know, I can look any day and I can see or remember or feel her, both of them, around me. And, you know, we make those bags and we give them to other nonprofits. And so they go to a shelter, or they go to a hospital, or they go to a foster care. I never see the children open the bag. I just feel the warmth of knowledge, of knowing that I'm making a difference. And that, you know, you, like as an example, as a sponsor, are making a difference. We don't know the people that we touch. And that's critical. It's just critical. That's just, you know, how we touch people. And so I look at the 4 ways to positively reflect. And one is, we always need to remember. Good, bad, indifferent, doesn't matter. We just need to remember and embrace that. So then we can reflect on it, which is the second one. To reflect. So what impact did you have on a person, a place, a thing, an animal? What impact did you have? Or what can you imagine? I can imagine the impact we're having on these children. I don't really know. I just feel it. What impact did that person, place, or thing have on you? So I know my daughter impacted me. I know all of my children impact me. My husband, my mom, all my friends, you guys, you all have had an impact. You shared your stories. I've been intertwined in your life. I am there. I weaved into your story. I've heard, I've felt, you know, we're human. We have to. And so the third part is, I think, the hardest. And we have to recreate. We have to recreate who we are, where we want to be, how we're going to get there, how we're going to deal with the what if, the could have, the should have, the one more. But what if, what if, what if? And for you women and men that have dealt with, you know, childhood abuse, you're dealing with it. You're understanding, you're creating that new normal. You've escaped but you haven't forgotten. You've weaved that into your new life so that you remember, so that um, you don't, you try not to have it repeated in your own families. You try not to, you want to break the cycle, right? In grief, we want to break the cycle. And so we're recreating. And then the fourth piece, that fourth piece is, I say it's three-pronged. One, we have to take care of ourselves. If we don't feel good, if we're not telling our story, if we're not being honest, we're not getting anywhere. So we need to exercise. We need to, we need to see our therapist. We need to eat right. We need to drink water. All those things we all know. We don't all do it, but we know. But try to practice self-care. Journal, write it down, get it off your chest. The second part is you have to help other people. I'm here tonight to share my story because somebody, it's going to resonate with them. Some little piece of my story might make their story a little easier. I've succeeded. I've succeeded. So the third part is to help in society. So how are you giving back? How are you volunteering? How are you, helping your church or your neighborhood or your neighbors, or what is it that you're doing? For me, we created Susie Q's Kids, so we're giving back that way. We're helping others through our stories that we're telling. And so we're really, yes, Sandra, we are healing. We're sharing that story by helping others, and we're healing along our journey. And our journeys are intertwined. We weave the stories forward. And how important this is I've got 5 grandchildren. Yay!
Can I show them? Can I show them a picture? Here's the 5 grandkids. Let's see. Here they are.
Yes. There's Angel Susie as she narrates my children's book. And my grandchildren are all in the book, different ages and different scenarios. So you can pick out a page with a story on it. Okay, so she wants to know if how they can connect with her. And so she says, just look for the signs. They're all over. She's looking for butterflies. You're planting in the garden. They've got pennies. They're picking up pennies. Different ways to do it. Working in the garden. It's different things that they can each do. You can go to the cemetery, and there's Nana and Papa down in the corner there. And so it really is about weaving that story forward. So my children's book really is about opening dialogue. And so when you open up that book and you read it and you see um, the angel dogs are in the book, but also their dogs are in the book.
I got to grab that angel dog book because, yes, we lost our pet.
April's going to share a story about the angel dogs, and it just warmed my heart when she told the story. So I'm going to let you tell your story.
Okay. So my dog, Molly, she passed away really suddenly in January when a lot of challenging things were happening at the same time. My mom was sick with COVID. Family was sick with COVID. We were trying to watch and take care of so many things. And then suddenly the dog just became instantly sick to the point of we knew she was not going to make it through the next day. And what do you do with such a fast loss? And my older kids stayed with her all through the evening and petted her, and they were right there. And my husband gave my daughter Virginia some good points and says, we can't actually rescue her from this pain right now, but you can be with her and guide her through her rainbow bridge, right? And she didn't pass there in the room, but they were able to be there through the evening. And we're trying to FaceTime at 2:30 in the morning and figure out how everything is happening. And it was tough. And afterwards, this shock, and all of a sudden we only have the collar and a paw print to come back with. Well, I had to grab the book again. We had talked a lot about the book when we had talked about my mother-in-law passing and my father-in-law passing. And we went right to this page and talked about with her, their angel dogs are Hershey and Abby right here. And we then started to create a new story. And my husband, his dad, loves dogs, had many, many dogs. And before he passed away, his mom had a dream about his dad. And she dreamt that she saw my father-in-law, his dad, in a big green meadow. And who was with him? All the dogs up in heaven. And when my littles started to hear this story, tears kind of stopped falling as fast. And they said, "Do you think Molly's right there?" My husband says, Of course Molly's right there. He's not just taking care of his own dogs, he's taking care of all the dogs until we arrive home and we can get our dog again. Well, that changed so many things, and it was a perspective. And as a wife, I kind of sat back like, way to go. Yeah, that's exactly it. I was like, I was channeling my thoughts, and he caught it all right in and did even better than I could have even imagined. Right. I love it. All dogs go to heaven. And if you want to know where they are, they're with my father-in-law. His name is Dale, and he's running around this meadow with all the dogs. He's checking the balls, the sticks. They're coming right back to him, and he's loving them all. The littles, the bigs, doesn't matter. If they had any kind of eye, and you've all seen the dog eye, he's a goner. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it was clean, dirty, rich, poor. Didn't matter. Any dog, he could get him right there. And his favorite saying was always, "Oh boy, oh boy." And the dogs would, yeah, you call my name right there. So with Molly being lost like that so suddenly, and now we know that Grandpa is taking care of all of the dogs until we arrive home, there's something to weave forward. So Dr. Mary, your influence is coming through the wavelengths, grabbing even my husband. So I love it.
So you said he even had to draw his picture with Abby and Hershey in the book. And
Yes.
So that's how the story weaved forward. You went from a sad situation to a different perspective, right? And it enabled you to have that dialogue. So thanks for sharing that story for us. It's real important to just remember to look for that positive. So one of my granddaughters, she misses her aunt Susie, and she always remembered baking with her. And so she was baking. She turned 7, and now she can do official baking. And so they were making muffins, and I got a snapshot text of her with all her stuff on the table, having her muffin lesson. And in her hair was that ribbon, that headscarf that Susie has on in the book. And I immediately went in the bedroom, pulled out Susie's original headscarf because she had a duplicate of it, put it on, snapped my picture, texted it to her, and said, "Oh, we're twins." And she wrote back, "I miss Aunt Susie. She feels real close to me when I wear her headscarf. And she always liked to bake. So when I bake, I have to wear the scarf because Susie's with me." And that's where you can weave the story forward.
Right. It is a beautiful thing when we do that, because you do remember the positive things, and it encourages you to not forget them. You've shared a story with me about a woman who you met who lost a child. And how many years had it been that she had never said her name?
I went to my mom was wanted to go to a red hat function, and it's supposed to a bunch of ladies with red hats on act silly and just act silly. And so I went to this outing, and I was one of the younger crowd, and I sat at a table with 8 ladies, and they asked me my story, and I shared my story, and then they went around the table and were sharing their story. And 6 of the women had lost a child at that table. And the one woman said, I lost my daughter 50 years ago. And I asked her, well, what was your daughter's name? And she said, I haven't said it in 50 years because nobody will let me talk about her. I can't imagine. I can't. It's the tears, all of us were, of course, all the tears were flowing. But I said, please talk to these ladies. Tell a story. Just say her name. But in her household, death was death, and we don't talk about it no more.
Wow.
And I don't think that that's healthy.
I agree.
Say the name, say it loud, say it proud, talk about them. I mentioned therapy, going to therapy. And I talked to my therapist this week. And she said, you have such a unique outlook. And I said, what does that mean? And she said, you brought all of your family members as show and tell to therapy. And I said, oh, if you want to know me, you need to know my husband. If you want to know the rest of me, you need to know this child and that grandchild and my mom and my mother-in-law. And she said, I've never had somebody bring people to therapy as show and tell. And I said, but you know the real me now, don't you? And she goes, oh, I know I can relate to your whole family. She said, I can see how your words are wove through what they said when they came into the room. And so she said it's just a healthy way to relate your story. So for all of you that are suffering from child abuse and it's terrible stories. We have terrible stories, but we have grown. You have grown. I hear your stories and I hear about the growth and I hear about the strength and I hear about the values that you cherish and that you share with other people and how it radiates out of you. Just as my story of loss radiates from me, we have to, each of us as authors of our own life, have to tell that story. And then it makes those dark days not as bad, not as hurt. I shouldn't say bad, it's hurtful. It's not as hurtful because we put it in a different component. We've changed the reflection. So we looked in the mirror and said, I'm not a victim. Don't feel sorry for me. I'm not a victim. Look at me. I'm good. I want to make sure this doesn't happen to someone else. Sandra, absolutely, our trials make us just that much stronger, and so my books, this book here is my journey. You'll see my daughter in the background here. She's got her hands out, stretched out. She embraced life. She was on the beach. She was having a wonderful day. And it's really just short pieces that I talk about in here. There's stories, there's poems, There's different things that you can pick it up, read 2 pages, put it down, and you're good. It's just going to make you stop and think and maybe reflect on how you can change that perspective so it's not as hard on you, not as hurtful. Dusty ropes, I'm not a victim, I'm a warrior. Absolutely. Just overcome that fear. And then this book here is just my journal, and there's Susie again on the cover. Um, but it talks about the 4 aspects of positive reflection. So every day I ask you in this book, what did you do for yourself and what did you do for someone else? And if you can't say you did something for yourself, something's wrong. And if you can't say you helped somebody, you called somebody, you took somebody some food, whatever it is, something's wrong. You're into yourself too much. We have to be inward and outward. So that's my challenge to tell everybody is just what did you do for yourself and what did you do for someone else? And the more that we can do that and the more that we can um, ask for help, share our stories, have our network of friends and people that we go to lunch or dinner with or have a coffee with or just pick up the phone and have a conversation with, it makes life that much easier because you're not alone.
That's right.
Never. We are not people that should be alone.
Yeah, we need to be together. And I think the realization of when we had to be so isolated, I think the fight to get together is really like never again. We will figure out a way to connect. And that's really, and a powerful thing. So you asked that question. So I'd love to ask the audience, Lori, Dusty, Sandra, anyone who's here, I'd love to ask the question, what did you do today for yourself and for someone else? So I'm going to start today for myself. I probably did a lot of things, which was great, right? Today for myself, I put some things down on the list that I just needed to finish that were just for me, and I did them today. Even though changes of the schedule happened, I'm like, well, maybe this is an opportunity to get it done, and it was. And I got the things done that I wanted to accomplish. And then serving someone else, I was able to, I think, help my daughter. Kind of a funny story. So my daughter's broken her collarbone, right? And so today was the follow-up visit at the doctor, the bone doctor, right? So we're there and all of the charts and the bones are, she's asking questions. And I'm like, oh, I know these answers. So I felt like I was actually serving her with some knowledge, and we were spelling out things. And she's like, clavicle, is that what I broke? I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh, that's a shorter word than collarbone. I like clavicle better. I'm like, okay, great. So, a little bit of service just in teaching someone some new words. Yeah, my daughter. Sometimes we don't you think sometimes we reach too far or like feel like we had to do, the lemonade stand that's going to save the world. It's like, maybe just teach your deaf daughter a new English word. And I'm like, whew, that was a good thing. So simple. That's what I did today. How about you guys out there? What did you do? Oh, Sandra says, I went for a lovely walk and I wrote a letter to encourage someone. Yay! I love that. I love that. So, Mary, what did you do today for yourself and who did you serve?
Well, I decided that I needed to exercise a little more. So I got this fancy dancy Fitbit and it tells me how many steps I do. So my goal is to do 5,000 steps. Might not be a lot to some people, it's a lot to me because I'm kind of sedentary. So I come home and I said to my husband, we need our steps. Come on. And we went for a long walk and I have 6,000 steps.
Woo!
Yay!
Very good. Excellent. Lori says she cycled for myself and cooked dinner for my family. I saw the fancy bike that Lori has, and so congratulations. I think that's great. So looks like you did some exercise. And who did you serve, Mary, today? You probably served a ton of people.
I had a day with Dusty today, and so I was able to help her talk through some issues and come to a conclusion that I think was beneficial for everyone that was involved. So it was a good conversation.
Yes, I think that is awesome. That's wonderful. So thank you guys for joining us and sharing that piece of our life. So we can remember these 4 pieces of reflection and the positiveness of what it can do in our lives. So anyone who has been through the challenge of abuse, these are aspects that you can add to your life. You don't have to think, well, someone didn't die in my life. Well, really, it could have been the dream of your life of a relationship that died. Dr. Mary's not adverse from the abuse that happens in a marriage. She understands. I understand. Parts of our stories interweave, but they don't have to define us. Like it's been talked about in some of these comments. You don't have to stay the victim or stay the survivor. You actually can step into this journey of healing. And if you have positivity that's going with you, to remember the good, to reflect, to recreate something, and then to go out and serve, wow, your life really can emphasize in a way that the growth through your healing journey can happen. And as you look back, you'll see how far you've come. And as you look forward, you can just see the light getting brighter and brighter. So there's so much benefit. Yes, there's some times of struggle and it's hard. When it's hard, you don't have to quit. You can just rest. And then you can get up again, start again. It's okay. We have experienced this. I think what you're seeing here are people who've never quit. We've all rested on this journey of healing. We've all had our sit down booger cry moments, and that's okay. But we end up getting back up and taking our 6,000 steps, right, Mary? Yes, exactly. So it looks like Dr. Mary served me, my team, and the nonprofit I work with. Wow, look at that service. That's great. As he says, I played with the dog and then served my team at work. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing all of these great things with us. Love it. Sandra says, Mary, you are a gift. Thank you. And I thank you too, Mary. Thank you so much. As we wrap up, go ahead.
In my book, there's a bunch of different poems, but there's one that I'd like to close with today because I think it's kind of fitting.
Perfect.
And these are poems that I wrote for those that are grieving, not to quit. And so you are in control. You need to find your purpose. You're in control. You're responsible for your destiny. You can prevent death. I mean, you cannot prevent death, sorry. But you can control how we respond. We can let it define us, or we can define it. Respect yourself. Respect those that you love. Respect those that have gone that you loved. Honor them by living a full life. Take charge. Get up, get moving, get motivated. Find your new purpose. Dedicate yourself to supporting your purpose. Enjoy your life. Create your own ray of sunshine. Because shine on in their honor. So what's your purpose?
Great ending question. What is our purpose? So keep those things in mind. Know that you're not alone in this. That's why we created this whole conference. It's to let people know through stories, different perspectives, it's okay. We might not have all experienced the same thing, and that doesn't matter. We can still love each other. We can still cheer each other on. We can still help each other through the yuck and the guck. It's okay. Because we've just shaken our boots out of that yuck and guck too. We know. So join us, be with us, think about all of these great positive things that you've heard tonight and implement them. Start your healing journey today. We really encourage you. Thank you, everyone who have been there this evening. Thank you for all of the winners tonight. And we'll be putting those down in the comments. Thank you, Lori, Sandra, Dusty, everyone who has been here and joined with us. We are so grateful. So, Mary, do you want to say any last parting words before we head out?
Weave your story.
Weave
Weave
your
your story
story.
forward. Thanks for
Beautiful.
having me. Thanks for supporting Susie Q's kids.
You bet. You bet. We'll see everybody. Good night.
Night.